Hello viewers, it is time to talk about something very big again. This time on the review is the Dreadnought Contemptor Incaendius of the Blood Angels. Not the most standard model of the Joytoy's Contemptors. In terms of packaging there is no difference from the Siren. It is a large box, a standard blister and a figure lying inside without any additional accessories. Let's move on to the analysis of the visual. In fact, compared to the Siren, the Blood Angels Dreadnought is quite modest, but fortunately not as modest as the Sons of Horus Dreadnought. The main color is red, with lots of shadings. The shins have golden frames at the bottom. On the knees patterns reminiscent of stained glass, which turns into armor, just like the groin area. On the sides and behind there is nothing remarkable except the connectors of the armor plates. But on the outer side of the right leg there is a tablet, or better to say page, with illegible text. This might be writings on High Gothic or its analog from Baal. In general, an interesting detail but unnoticeable. The waist is standard, the chest part is decorated with the emblem of the Blood Angels and bas-reliefs. The head is covered with a dome, in the form of golden arc, on the sides of which there are two rings which looks like lanterns. There is nothing remarkable on the head itself, a box grid, green lenses. On the left shoulder in front there is a Legion emblem, which for some reason is wrapped in an omega. Or maybe this Dreadnought is a collaboration of Ultramarines and Blood Angels, I don't quite get it. On the side there is a small ornament and a small Roman numeral 9. Classic Dreadnought joints, but the forearm and hands are the main distinguishing feature of this warrior. Their design, in addition to 4 huge power claws that create a full-fledged hand, includes a 6-barreled bolter gun built into the hand itself, and at the bottom of the forearm there are huge twin magazines, in which you can see holded bolts. But this is not all the weapons, because when we're talking about an Incaendius, flamethrowers are almost always mentioned. And as far as I understand, this guy also has them, and this is this pair of barrels coming out from the top of the hand. On the back of the Dreadnought there is an additional structure. This is a jet engine, consisting of 2 small, 1 large turbine and a fuel tank, which is also a unique distinctive feature. By the way, under the engines we can see the unprotected armor frame of the Dreadnought, and 2 large cables going inside. It was impossible to see this on a Siren. Finally, the right hand also has an ornament on the shoulder. Under it is the inscription Baal, and the hand is almost exactly the same, but there is still one unnoticeable difference. There's 1 flamethrower barrel instead of 2. On top of the hull we can see the exhaust pipes of the arc reactor, and the grille, which unlike the Siren is painted. By the way, the feet are typical without stand connectors. This could be the end of the review of the appearance, but I noticed that the wave of Blood Angels Dreadnoughts had one interesting defect in production, and I saw it in the other reviews on YouTube. For some reason the parts of the figure are very poorly glued to their places, or not glued at all, so we have a unique opportunity to dissect the Dreadnought. Fulgrim would appreciate this. In addition to the removable finger, I have the easiest access to the right knee, the inside of the left shoulder pad, and the most interesting thing is the armor of the main body, and the armor plate on the waist. What is interesting here, the armor fixes the head of the Dreadnought, and it can be removed from the mount along with the hinge, and examined in more detail. By the way, I want to note that the head is quite heavy, as it has a metal form inside. In general, the internal structure of the body does not present anything spectacular. There is no amniotic fluid, no pieces of dead space marine, in general an empty pie, but at least we can look at the hinge of the body, which is responsible for tilts and lifts. Backward the guide is easy to assemble, like a building toy without glue. The parts are held weakly, but do not simply fall out from the air. The figure's articulation is standard for a Contemptor Dreadnought, but everything here is not like with the Siren. I'm 100% sure that the ratchets in the knees and elbows have been updated. This figure is newer than a Siren, and if you watch the review of it, you can remember how lovely his knees crunched. This guy's ratchets move softer and almost silently. The same goes for the elbows. What's also interesting here are the claws. All 8 of them are bendable. At the same time I demonstrate the rotation of the hand itself, which I didn't show on the Sounds and Sounds Contemptor. Here the ratchet is also hellishly tight, and it turned out that the hands themselves can be removed from the forearms if desired. In theory they can be swapped for different Dreadnoughts. The last and most unusual points of articulation for the figure are 3 engines. They are held on ball joints and can be turned in different directions independently, within a limited range. Not if this would affect anything hidden behind the back, but it is still nice, and the engines look like some charge bells. The Incaendius Dreadnought is a model, as you might guess, used by the Blood Angels, and usually equipped with a jet engine and power claws for close combat. I have already talked about the design of the Dreadnought in detail in the Siren review, so I won't dwell on this now. The feature of the Incaendius is that with the help of jet engines it can land straight from the planet's orbit, and even make big jumps like regular Space Marine with jump packs. In addition to the power claws, flamethrowers and bolter weapons are built into his hands. And as far as I understand, this is an optional equipment and can be replaced, for example with an autocannon. Again, the Dreadnought is not named, so the character is not assigned to it. As for the figure itself and its posing abilities, as expected thanks to the clothes, it looks great in dynamics and statics. The combination of the movement of legs, arms and claws make it very lively and interesting on display. Moreover, unlike a Siren, this guy can offer a full grip of standard Space Marines with his claws, and his hands even cope with holding the weight, which opens up even more opportunities for cool show poses. And I even think about how cool it would be if Joytoy released a powerful stand with a bracket for him to hold his almost kilo weight, and the fire effects for the engines, for the display during flight. That would be incredibly beautiful. It's a pity that the claws cannot be clenched into a fist. Instead of it, you get Italian indignation. As for the size comparison, the first generation figures, without taking into account the backpack, reach at best the upper part of the knee. The Thermogown, due to poor posture, reaches the lower part of the knee, while Deathmark watching his posture, and he even reaches the level of the hip, which is not bad, and most importantly, the Dreadnought can easily grab all the Sinos and Chaos sides with his fingers, one per hand. With the relative, there is a wonderful combination and color scheme despite the different format of plastic, and growth almost with the Dreadnought's leg. His ankle reaches the level of the chest. The most interesting comparison is obviously with the Siren, because as I said, thanks to its fashionable decorations, a Siren is the largest Contemptor in Joytoy model range. And what is remarkable, that although the basic molds are the same for all the guys, but for example Siren's shoulder pads may be not so noticeable from the side, but in life they are noticeably larger than those for Incaendius. But instead he doesn't have an additional backpack. The shades of red are obviously different, and I cannot help but say, unfortunately, that no matter how good the Blood Angels Dreadnought is, the Thousand Sons of Siren is on a different level in terms of visuals. So, the Contemptor Dreadnought Incaendius is a very interesting museum exhibit from the Horus Heresy era. It has maximum mobility and the largest number of articulated parts among all the Joytoy Contemptors. In my opinion, it's definitely in the top 3 most beautiful dreadnoughts of this model until the versions of the Custodians and Alpha Legion came out, which of course need to be viewed in real life to understand if they are as good as in the renders. In any case, only this guy can offer you poses for flying, a big jump and landing. Only this guy can offer 100% working poses with holding the enemy in his hands, and even hand-to-hand combat with both smaller and larger opponents. I like him even more in dynamics than a Siren, so these are definitely his strong points. The only drawback of the figure is the unstuck armor, but in my opinion this is not a problem at all, if you have some varnish or glue. Overall the figure is great, and I'm glad that it can offer something really new in comparison with other Contemptors, which by the way the Alpha Legion Dreadnought for example will not be able to do. Now it's time to finish the review. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed the video, I will also be very glad for your comments and new subscriptions. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.